Purchase an eligible new 30 to 450 horsepower Yamaha outboard and get up to 7 years of coverage protection, plus up to $500 in dealer credit, or earn up to $700 in dealer credit on eligible 2.5 to 25 horsepower models. Fall into savings today.
The ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
It's Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. This is your New Jersey, Delaware Bay video fishing forecast for the final Saturday and Sunday of October. I'm Jim Hutchinson, the New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition managing editor. Happy anniversary to me. I actually first joined the Fisherman magazine as editor 23 years ago this month. Yeah, that quarter will get you nothing, I guess. We just went to print with the November edition of the Fisherman magazine. In a moment, I'm going to take you through a brief tour of that monthly edition, show you what we've got on tap. But the big news this week, especially heading into this weekend, is the start of the fall striper run here at the Jersey Shore, which by all accounts, it's go time. I received reliable reports of at least 250-inch and over fish caught since this past weekend. My friend Chuck Manny aboard his Tie Man out of Highlands, fishing off the beach, I believe. He texted on Monday, said he got a 52-incher on Sunday. Also had a giant bluefin that grabbed his eel. He fought that for about 10 minutes. I'm not sure if he got his line back. A quick weight on that 52-incher, by the way. Chuck said it was only 49 pounds. So I guess these fish are hungry. Saturday, by the way, Chuck said was a numbers day. 48 stripers, 48 from 26 to 46 pounds. Yeah, I know, they're boat fish. Surfcasters, they're boat fish, they don't count. And some of my surfcasting friends wouldn't be caught dead fishing from a boat. That said, surfcaster William Coppola, he said, I hate that this was on a boat, but I won't complain. He said he wouldn't fit it in the net, couldn't fit in the net. He had to grab him. William said he got this fish over the weekend off Monmouth County while plugging away. So yeah, surfcasters, you can still get out there and plug. You can just do it from a boat and get into those schools of fish, which are now coming across the line and into our area. Caesar Carranza of C80 Plugs tells me he's kayaked his way to a 49.5-incher and multiple high 40s on his C80s under cover of dark. But this 50.5-inch fish was caught this week kayaking after dark somewhere along the North Country, and yeah, fishing live eels. Another video I received this week, Tuesday morning, was from Jeffrey Duran somewhere along the Raritan Bay. He said he couldn't sleep. Those fish were invading his mind. He just couldn't go to sleep. So he went out, hit the grounds, running, heard a pop on the surface, and he needed something to cut through that wind. I believe that was Monday into Tuesday, that overnight. So he dug out the trusty old Super Strike Little Neck Popper, Little Neck Swimmer, I should say, one of my favorites. Couple of cranks, he's releasing a good fish. So maybe we're talking about a slug of fish coming from Long Island Sound down the East River, loading into into the Raritan Bay, along with those migrating stripers that are coming from the east and flowing to the west. And they usually do aggregate someplace around the Raritan Bay, but it seems like that Raritan Bay is starting to fill up with big fish. Samantha Rosario plugged up this river monster the other day. So yeah, terra firma stripers are there for folks willing to move around and try different locations. And don't discount surf casting along the bay shore, along the sod banks, along the back. And that stands to reason all the way down the coast in the back behind Island Beach, Long Beach Island, beaches of Cape May County, and in Ocean City in Cape May County as well. But I will tell you this, that down the beach, my buddy Pat, he ran out of Manasquan on Saturday morning with his daughter, said stripers were all over sand eels. Tough to get a bite, but he did find it eventually. So you want to bring those sand eel imitations, the jigs, maybe the umbrella rigs, the tsunami sand eel imitations, the needlefish, whatever it takes to get a bite. And of course, this is the time of year too, where I know some friends up in Monmouth County, they're still trolling those big Maja spoons with the Maja gear. They're getting on those trophies on the troll. So if you do want to catch a big fish, a lot of folks say, oh, well, that's not good for the fish. It's a single, it's not a treble, and it's really big, heavy equipment. So you can get those big fish, get that personal best under your belt and release that, and then go to work on the sand eels. Now, while North Jersey is loading up with big striped bass, expect these fish to spread out down the beaches, down into Southern Ocean County, Atlantic and Cape May County. And in fact, we go into Cape May County. Carmen here released a 47-inch fish on Saturday, according to the folks at Boulevard Bait and Tackle in Ocean View Sea Isle there. Now, one thing I would bring up at this point as well, a lot of friends talking about the lack of menhaden they're seeing this season out front and in the back. Personally, I saw a good amount of finger mullet in the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay right before the storm, but I didn't see many bunker. And I had like 72, 73 degree temperatures. And right after the storm, water temperatures in the back bay plummet. They down 60, 61 degrees, which is ideal, but I'm just not seeing that bait. That said, last week after the blow, no bait visuals in that cooler water. I still had plenty of action on schoolie-sized stripers, throwing a 4-inch Yazori top neck pencil right along the sedges. Right when that sun is starting to get to the land, I see it when it touches the marshes. That's when I think a lot of those bass move up along the sod banks to feed. So that's a good tactic if the boat is still in, all the way from the Navesink down into Great Bay, Little Bay, Absecon, all the way down into the back bays of Cape May County. You might want to even try it along the sedges there in Fortescue Beach as well. Now, for the years that we've been under the impression from the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission that menhaden population was at an all-time high, a 40-year high. However, a new stock assessment finds that the biomass of menhaden was down. Looks like about 37%. Oops. Yeah, thanks a lot, ASMFC. So as the Chesapeake Bay Foundation points out, the menhaden reduction industry, they championed that good stock assessment in efforts to increase their catch limits. So they harvest more than, according to Chesapeake Bay Foundation, more than 100 million pounds of menhaden annually in Virginia's portion of the Chesapeake Bay before they come up the coast and vacuum up all the bunker that we have off of the beaches here, the New York Bight and all along the Jersey Shore. You got to keep that number in mind when we talk in a few minutes about the Young of the Year results on the Chesapeake in the Maryland portion, which are not good. But if you allow an increase in menhaden harvest based on an assessment that's off by like 35%, then pretty much you've got a twofold problem, because the folks that are looking for more catch limits, they're going to get an equal limit of catch based on that population high. So if all of a sudden it's 35% lower, what do you have? You know, what you have is the ASMFC next Tuesday, the 28th, in Dewey Beach, Delaware, talking about the potential of a 55% reduction to the commercial menhaden quota, which I think is great. I think that's great. Lack of menhaden, I believe, is certainly part of the problem in the Chesapeake Bay for a whole host of reasons here along the Jersey coast as well. New Jersey, Delaware Bay region. Less bunker leaves striped bass in search of additional food stuff. Sand eels become the favorite stuff this time of year. So right now I'm going to go out on a limb. And follow me if you dare to crawl up inside my noggin. But I've often felt that the sheer volume of bunker schools off the beach has kept those stripers on the bunker schools. Why leave fish to find fish? Bass stay in Monmouth County for an exorbitant amount of time the past few falls because they're set up in Monmouth County, and on every outgoing cycle, you got more peanut bunker flowing out. They've got all they need to eat before the migration starts. And then once they start to move, those bunker schools are outside 3 miles or along the edge in 3 miles. And then most people pull their boats in Atlantic and Cape May County by December, so you don't necessarily get in on those stripers as they're migrating down. So if the stripers aren't finding as much bunker in these same locales as they have in the past 5-6 years, the question I have is, will that bring more stripers in close to shore looking for food? Will it bring them in close to shore? Will it bring them into the back bays? And as that southerly migration moves, if there is the lack of bunker off the beach, will that mean more stripers come inside Delaware Bay this fall? Will the Cape May rips produce? Will those humps and lumps and sloughs off of Fortescue, will they produce as well? It's something that's interesting to think about. This is certainly not gospel, it's just a wild guess, and it could lead to a wild goose chase. Or we could see a change in feeding habits this fall. But I will tell you this, if you are starting to chase the stripers, which you probably are, just like me, and you're trying to figure out different areas where to go, you want to be able to pack smart, right? For sure, though, if I were chasing stripers along the beach through this weekend, I'm going to hope for a little bit of wind at my back, because any bunker that are in there, they start nosing up against the wind. So when we look at the midweek forecast from the National Weather Service, perhaps about as accurate as a Menhaden stock assessment from the ASMFC or an MRIP survey, but it's what we are forced to deal with. I see some tasty conditions Friday into Saturday, and hopefully that blitz action will get underway in tight this weekend. So prepare to giddy up and go wherever the run takes you. On this week's Open Boat segment, Jenny goes into great detail, a 10-minute segment on traveling light this fall run season. When it comes to surf casting for stripers, many anglers try to fit as much as they possibly can into the plug bag. It's almost like a kitchen sink. But Jenny's got some advice on packing your bag light to the max for the most efficient presentation this fall.
The 9-foot rods are out, guides have been checked, your reels have been re-spooled. Waders questionably need to have a patch kit applied, but these are all signs of the fall run season. And one thing I love about the fall is just being outside, the crisp, cool air. Local summer is gone, now it's surfcaster summer season, if you could say summertime. We're gonna be bundled up really soon if you're chasing sand eels into December and January. But I wanted to share some plug bag hacks, because the average surfcaster, you can picture them, you know, driving their truck on the beach. They have all of their stuff packed into the back of their truck. A mobile tackle shop. For me, I'm different. If you see me on the beach, I'm usually in like a fishing buddy's truck, but I'm personally not the one driving on the beach. You know, it's a joke, you know, hitchhikers of the Surfcaster Society. But I want to share some plug bag hacks that I have to get you guys prepped for the fall run season if you share the same similarities with me. With, like, you know, not having, I have my own vehicle obviously, but I'm not driving her on the beach. She's got 4-wheel drive, but no, that's my primary. So that's why I just stick it out with my buddies that have, you know, big lifted trucks that stay off the beach. So with my plug bag, you think that when I go fishing, I would have everything in the kitchen sink in my plug bag. But the first hack is just keeping your necessities. So going into it, you can see right here, my bucktail pouch is beyond stuffed with bucktails and swim shads and jig heads, everything that I would need during the fall run season. Of course, I have my favorite bucktail, and then I have this nice chunky bucktail that I was just throwing the other day. So obviously when you have a bucktail, you want to throw this when there's peanut bunker around, or if you're on a jetty. This is a really good lure to go to. My go-to when there's peanut bunker around. I have a funny story. When I was fishing a couple fall runs ago, back when I was still in college, I had my rod on my roof rack. Something was up with my plug bag where I didn't have it in my car at that time. I think I took it out and forgot to put it back in. But I was driving home from college and I wanted to go to the beach anyway, and my rod already had a plug attached to it, but there was a peanut bunker blitz. So of course, when you have a plug that has 2 treble hooks on it, or even just 1 treble hook, the peanut bunker are gonna get smacked around and you're gonna hook a bunch of peanuts and miss fish. So I was walking on the beach, you know, just watching, because I saw a bunch of familiar trucks parked out where I was fishing. So a lot of my buddies were there. And the nicest thing happened. One of my buddies was like, here, take a bucktail, take a swim shot. And I was like, thank you so much. So now I do the same thing where another hack, I'm carrying multiples of the plugs or the bucktail or the jig, whatever I'm using, I carry multiples in case there's someone on the beach who is not catching or they're not using the right thing. I say, hey bud, here, try this and you'll get on fish. And it has worked. It worked for me, and it has worked for me when I've given people plugs. And you might think, oh my God, Jenny, plugs are so expensive. Like, why are you just handing them out to people? Listen, You can, if you want to, you could spend the big bucks on a custom plug. I have done that to support my friends who are builders, but realistically, during this fall run, you don't really need a lot of the fancy. Of course, you can have a couple, especially if you're on the boat, but for starters, another plug bag hack, a plug pick. Now this is just a bent piece of metal that helps you get your plugs out easier. So of course, like I was just saying, I have a lot of poppers in here, obviously still from the mullet run, but, oh look, another popper. The fun thing of having a million plugs in here. But those will be coming out. But like I said, supporting your custom plug builder buddies is the Z-Shore. This is like the one custom plug I have in my bag for the fall run. And I would use that when there's like adult size bunker around and when I'm like, you know, waiting out on the bar and I can get into some big fish with a metal lip swimmer. Going through, when we have sand eels, a needlefish. This is a hoagie needlefish. I swapped out the hooks in the back to a single hook because this is your best bet at getting big fish on sand eels, or if you just throw an Ava jig, easy peasy. I have Ava jigs in here too, in a slot in the plug bag where it's made for like bucktails and stuff. So when you are looking at your plug bag, I always recommend guys to like go through every nook and cranny, find every space in your plug bag that you can and see what you can stuff in there. Because for my case, like I said, I travel light, but I carry multiple of the same plugs to give out to people. And I gotta find my go-to plug for the fall run season, and it is right here. Drum roll. I gotta switch out this hook. It's the Tsunami twitch bait. I love this. It comes in multiple sizes. I also have it in the Ozuri twitch bait. It's the same gig. It looks like a bunker. There's even a smaller size that looks like a peanut bunker. So this is a perfect lure imitation for when the adult bunker and the peanuts are around, if you can get into them without getting snagged up. Because remember what I said about the treble hook when there's peanuts around. Because sometimes the peanuts can be really, really small, like $50 sized, and they're ready to get snagged on a hook. So that's another big thing. And obviously what I gotta do after I go home, because I've been fishing at night secretly, and I've only been using one lure, and it's obviously not these ones because these hooks need to be replaced, but replace your hooks. So that's what I'm gonna be doing when I go home today. After filming this, I'm gonna be replacing my hooks because rusty hooks are no good. So another it's more like a tip, not like a hack, obviously, because you should be doing this, and this is a prime example of what you should not be doing, is rinsing off your plug bag, because your hooks will rust out because salt water and salt in general corrodes everything. So you don't want to have hooks breaking on fish when they haven't been taken care of. So this is a prime example of just taking the time to sit down, like I'm going to do this afternoon, and switch out some old rusty hooks so I don't get tetanus or I don't break off a fish on a rusty hook. I mean, these aren't really super duper bad, but they're bad. So taking care of your old faithful plugs is another good hack to have. And the last thing is comfort when it comes to fishing, because fall run, there's a lot of times where you're fishing day and night, nonstop. You're on 3-day benders at the hook, crushing big bass on bucktails. So there's fatigue that comes to it, obviously. Like, for example, if you're pencil popping all day, your arm is gonna hurt. But when it comes to plug bags, a nice little hack that I do is, obviously, my plug bag is attached to my belt. So having it attached to my belt relieves some of that like shoulder fatigue if you just had the shoulder bag over your shoulder, because that's like, especially if you have a lot of plugs, that's weighing down on your shoulder. But having it attached to your belt relieves that fatigue. And this is a Z belt, and it's a thicker belt. So when I'm fishing all day, it has a thicker back support. So literally, like, I'll like lean back a little and crack my back, and the support from this belt helps out a lot. It's kind of like sad to say, but like a back brace if you hurt yourself. Like if you're on the job and you hurt yourself, you can wear a back brace. It's literally like this. And another hack that you can do that I don't have on this belt, but I do have when I go fly fishing on that belt, is obviously my bag is attached to my belt, but also I have my strap over my shoulder. So I have that belt support holding my plug bag, but then I also have it wrapped around my shoulder too for extra support. So that's basically like, you know, some good hacks for kicking off the fall run season, being a hitchhiking surf caster like myself. And one other thing is always have leaders pre-tied, like I said, nook and crannies. There's literally a zipper up here and another pouch for my leader material, my clips, everything. So I have pre-tied leaders. You can even do pre-tied sand eel teaser leaders with a sand eel teaser on the top and then a clip on the bottom for your hoagie or your Ava jig. It's all prep, and now's the time to prep. And you could be like me, you could be fishing at night secretly, but the biggest thing is once they get here, oh boy, I know some guys are already been getting into fish, especially up in Long Island and of course in Massachusetts, New England, but New Jersey, where I am, buckle up, because I know once they start to show here, oh boy, it is helter-skelter, shoulder-to-shoulder fishing the beach. You gotta be down here to see it, and it's always a great time. It's always a good time to see people I know catching fish, I'm catching fish, I'm helping other people catch fish, and hopefully the hacks that I presented to you here help you if you're just the angler with a plug bag and a belt and get yourselves ready to go. And one last hack just for fun. If your buddies say they've been on fish, and if you see them in person and they're telling you face to face that they've been on fish, check their thumbs. Bass thumb is real. That's one way. If you want to be a true surf casting fisherman detective, check your buddy's thumbs to see if they have bass thumb. Then you can believe it or not if they've been on fish or not. So good luck everyone this fall run season. I can't wait to see you all out in the surf, and I can't wait to get on some fish again. So let's go.
In the famed waters of Panama awaits a fishing experience like no other. Tropic Star Lodge welcomes anglers to get in on world-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
The November edition of the Fisherman magazine on newsstands and in subscriber mailboxes now. In the November table of contents, this is what you're going to see. That's Chris Pereira, by the way, on the cover with that jumbo tog. So yeah, we do have tog written up for November because November's tog season. But it's also time for prepping for striped bass pandemonium. Adam Aguiar has that. You're going to need that this weekend. On the move, little boat, big fleet, Captain Qua Win. Also need that. If you're picking up your boat and traveling north or south, wherever the stripers go, you want to pick up some details and tips from Captain Qua. Lock and load, New Jersey fall winter sea bass, Nick Honicheski. Yep, get on them. And finally, that tog story that I talked about, the tog master Frank Mahalik. In a few weeks, this story is going to come in handy as blackfish limits go up here at the Jersey Shore. Don't forget Tom Pagliaroli. He covered our New Jersey fall stocking report in the October edition, but because of the water levels and such being what they are from the lack of rain, he's got a stock update in the November edition. Plus, he highlights a few of his favorite waters this month, all the way through the winter, for targeting some of those rainbow trout in the Garden State. But that's only half the story. That's only half the lineup in the November edition because you've also got the glossy as well.
The November glossy edition of the Fisherman magazine is out now. Jim Hutchinson has a great read on the striper tagging program and the latest data that has just been received. No bait? No problem. This article from Captain John Raguzzo has what you need to know when jigging for sea bass in the fall. On the run is the fall striper migration region by region. Matt Broderick kicks off the rod building series on creating the perfect ultralight trout rod. With all the new trolling motor technology and features of today, this brings up the question of etiquette and sportsmanship, and Captain Brett Taylor discusses both. To get all this and more, be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine. When you subscribe, you get 12 glossy print editions, 26 digital editions to your inbox, this past weekend's reports, full access to the website, and more. As a subscriber, you can also be part of the Dreamboat Challenge and win a brand new Steigercraft powered by Yamaha and compete for a rigged out kayak from YakAttack. Subscribe now.
Black sea bass, I mentioned before, you have that 10 fish bag limit at the Jersey Shore right now. Boats are heading to the offshore wrecks at this point in search of a score In the northern half of the Garden State, of course, as you press farther offshore, you've also got porgies in the mix, whereas in the southern part of the state, fewer porgies, but there's still some triggerfish in play at this point. In fact, in his South Jersey report this week, field editor Anthony Califano, he spoke with Bill at Fanatics in Ocean City, who reported sea bass, tog, and triggerfish at Ocean City Reef Site, steady action, but a low ratio of keepers. Out of Pier 47 in Wildwood, they said Cold Spring Jetty has been loaded with tog. We're seeing that again this year. Noel in Atlantic City at One Stop, he's calling Atlantic City Tog City, but you might think the Cold Spring Jetty as well. Many folks there are also pushing out to Wildwood and Cape May reef sites, where they're reporting plenty of sea bass, with some reporting limits of keepers. Now, don't forget, subscribers, you still have the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. That's in play through the end of November. Our sea bass leaderboard, as well as tog, absolutely wide open. So even if you're not in contention for the Steiger, because you got to do a lot of weigh-ins there, you could still win a prize as a subscriber just by bringing in that black sea bass or blackfish into a participating tackle shop, a weigh station, to weigh it in and join the lineup like these folks.
It's October 23rd, and we have the latest from the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. First on deck is Daniel Solomon, a Long Island subscriber from Setauket, with a 7.69-pound blackfish weighed in at Miller Place Bait and Tackle that lands him in third place in the blackfish category. Our next blackfish on the board comes from Mark Warbalowski, another Long Island subscriber from Bayport, New York, weighed in his catch at J&J Sports, and it weighed 8.84 pounds, which places Mark in second. And our last blackfish entry comes from Johnny Lee Rouse, a New Jersey subscriber from Pine Hill, New Jersey, weighing in his 13.2 catch at Snug Harbor Marina, landing him in the number one spot in the blackfish category. We end the week with the leaderboard looking like this. Thomas Luciano is in first place with 20 points. Second place is Rashawn Williams with 16 points. And taking third is Jeffrey Harrison with 13 points.
It was a slow and windy week in the Coastal Kayak Clash. We only had one fish hit the board, which was actually a fish that was caught a couple weeks ago, but the entry got lost in cyberspace. We finally were able to recover it. We have a 22-inch blackfish entered by David Dew, which is now good enough for third place in the blackfish category. Everything else remains the same. We've got Rotha Nong in first place with 6 points, Dustin Stevens in second place, also with 6 points, and Bob Wagner in third place with 5 total points.
Introducing the YakAttack Sandrig Surf Cart, the ultimate beach hauler for serious anglers. Glide effortlessly over soft sand with wide balloon wheels and lightweight, corrosion-resistant construction that's completely customizable with options. Whether it's rods, coolers, or tackle, haul it all with ease. Built by surf fishermen and engineered by YakAttack.
We'll take a look at our offshore forecast for the weekend ahead, a couple of events to tell you about, and heck, why not? No one else is going to do it. Why not take some personal responsibility here this week? And I'll respond to some social media trolls and the cult leaders responsible for the attacks. That's in about 3 minutes. But first, we're going to head west for our freshwater update with my friend George Schauer, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, the fall bite is certainly on. You can tell by the leaves and the trees and the water's cooling down. Fishing is going to get much, much better. You know, the trout guys are certainly starting to get turned on. We had a few of the guys check in. Right now, we got Eric Gustall checked in from Northampton County. He was out getting on some great brown trout in the local area. Eric says you can get these right now this time of year on the fly, the spinner, or on small jerk baits work well for those trout. We also had another awesome 23-inch rainbow trout from Jason R. on the Pocono Creek in New Jersey. It was a good release on that one as well. Big beast he let swim away for another day. Now don't forget the smallmouth bite is certainly on. We had Tom Masunas, a state trooper from Pennsylvania. Well, he was out on the for smallmouth on the Schuylkill River. He got that on a deep diving crankbait, so some good fishing there, Tom. Great work. Also, Fisherman X up there in Wallenpaupack. We can't forget about the stripers, guys. You know, still producing great stripers up on the pack, whether it's Beltsville, Wallenpaupack, they're knocking, mixing. Anywhere you go right now, those stripers are going to be biting hard. feeding up for winter. Guys, let us know what you're out catching, but there's a lot of great fishing going on. Be sure you're a part of it and you make the reports as well. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
From our calendar of events in the October edition of the Fisherman magazine, October 24th through the 26th, it's the Highmar Striper Club's Bob Kaminsky Memorial 40-hour catch, picture, and release striper tournament. The captain's meeting is 6 p.m. Friday at American Legion Post 838 in Leonardo. It's $200 per boat or kayak. And then once that's done, you just go out and have at it. You can go to highmar.com for details. That's high-mar.com. Again, folks are asking about the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission and the striped bass decision. That's coming up next week. ASMFC meeting is in Dewey Beach, Delaware, starting Monday, and the striped bass vote will take place on Wednesday, October 29th. I'm sure it's going to end up as a topic of conversation next Wednesday, October 29th, at the Jersey Coast Shark Anglers Club headquarters. That's on Herbertsville Road in Brick. Captain Jimmy Frieda is giving a seminar on how to catch striped bass. And I'm sure that striped bass management is going to be a topic of conversation as well. The cost for that, by the way, is $30, but that also includes a buffet dinner and raffles as well. For details, go to jcsa.org. Now, after wrapping up last week's video fishing forecast, we got a bulletin sent to us from the state of Maryland and the Department of Natural Resources with a headline that said this: Chesapeake Bay 2025 Young of the Year Striped Bass Survey Results. Now, the actual heading from Maryland's DNR said, quote, slight improvement documented, but spawning success is still below average. Now, I would tell you that there are only 3 full-time editors here at the Fisherman magazine. You've got Dave Anderson in New England, Matt Broderick in Long Island, and the Jersey boy here. So one of us had to write this up. And whenever news breaks, one of us has to grab a hold of that. So early Thursday morning, I said, fine, I'll do it. So it's pretty straightforward release write-up. That's why they issue a press release. You take the information from the press release and you put it into a document so that your readers can read it. So we posted that online. You'll find that in the November edition of the Fisherman magazine. Like I said, very straightforward. Again, slight improvement documented, but spawning success is still below average. Arguably, it's higher than it's been in 7 years, but it's still well below the average, as noted in the news brief. Now, apparently, some of the angry radicals out there didn't like that I was the one who wrote this up or that I quoted the Maryland DNR in their press release, which honestly, I don't know how I could have written about this unless I quoted Maryland DNR. Captain Brian Williams, for example, he targeted me for lying, sugarcoating, and trying to miseducate readers. Accused me of making up the headline. Again, the headline comes from the Maryland DNR, Department of Natural Resources. My God, have you seen any of the posts that this captain makes? Have you ever seen him at a public meeting? Dude, settle down. People who read the full story are not in big trouble, Cap. People who only skim headlines while tearing down statues and attacking the media, those are the folks that are in big trouble. I'm starting to believe that we're dealing with some kind of cult here. Nick Hutch, no relation that I'm aware of, very upset that I wrote the news brief. Dave and Matt, I'm telling you right now, you guys are responsible for all things written about striped bass in the future because your buddies are way too easily triggered by my byline. Anyway, Nick didn't like the tone I used in writing the news brief. Said, wholly disappointed in the lack of urgency in the writer's tone. Actually, I don't think you're reading the news brief at all the way I wrote it. Let me try to read it the way I wrote it. On October 15th, the Maryland Department of Natural Resources released their annual juvenile striped bass survey for 2025, recording a Young of the Year index of 4.0. I'm just kidding, Nick. Again, DNR stated, quote, "This is an improvement over recent years, but still well below the long-term survey average of 11. It's the 7th consecutive year of low striped bass spawning success in Maryland's Chesapeake stock survey of the young of the year." Another cult member named Paul argues that the Maryland news brief I wrote should have addressed everything I ever reported about striper management, what he calls loose, sloppy claims, like, quote, "Strict recreational management using a narrow slot has effectively lowered fishing mortality to a 30-year low, well below the target and threshold for rebuilding, only to be quickly proven wrong." Actually, no, Paul. The ASMFC data itself shows a 30-year low in mortality under the current slot. This is the chart that we've been looking at for months now. The 2024 level of removals in the striped bass fishery, the vertical blocks and the red commercial lines, statistically, they have not been this low since 1994. That's what this chart shows. That's a 30-year low in mortality. That's directly from the ASMFC. Now, the SSB rebuild, the spawning stock biomass, that's kind of separate from the problem with the Chesapeake Young of the Year and recruitment. And sadly, folks conflate the two issues. They're related, but separate management issues. I wish it was that easy. If we had a 30-year low in mortality and we have a growing stock biomass of striped bass, that suddenly we'd wake up one day and have a billion baby stripers born on the Chesapeake. But that's just not the case. And sadly, that's not the way nature works. High spawning stock biomass, as we see, is not directly correlating with that spawning success in the Chesapeake. And we need to figure out what's wrong down there. But the leaders of this cult are sending the minions, their minions, to social media for antisocial behavior against anybody who wants to report the news, which is fine. They have a particular narrative that requires a strict belief structure and avoidance of everything that exists below the headline. Don't read the story if Hutchinson wrote it, is the message that they give. And apparently, like many others I see, Reel and Fish here is waging what I would call a proxy war via social media on behalf of a philanthropically funded entity which has previously marked me for termination. And I've got the emails, the screen grabs, and the IRS forms to prove it. So apparently these cult leaders have been embraced for the fruitiness of their particular brand of Kool-Aid. And with the striped bass decision looming next Wednesday, October 29th, I guess I'll just have to deal with these little temper tantrums a little bit longer. I would say to the cult leaders, though, this is for you, keep it up. Because I've got a whole stack of IRS 990 forms literally with your name on it. I'm trying to keep my powder dry here, fellas, but you're making it very difficult. $874,000 in annual revenue and a drop box inside a check cashing storefront in Washington, D.C. Everyone says follow the money. When I was first given this job or first earned this job 23 years ago, it's been pretty upfront from there. Readers who buy the magazine, who subscribe to the magazine, the advertisers, the tackle shops, the marinas, the for-hire captains, the outfitters, the tackle manufacturers, they pay me to report the news. And really, we know who pays my salary, but who pays yours, Tony? By the way, back to that Maryland Young of the Year chart, the blizzard of 1996 was also known as the Great Furlough Storm in the Washington, D.C. area where Tony picks up his mail, because that blizzard occurred just after a 1996 federal shutdown of the government. Deja vu all over again, right? Upwards of 36 inches of snow fell along the upper stretches of the Chesapeake in the first week of January that year. And because of unseasonably warm weather and then over an inch of rain falling a week after the storm, snow melted quickly, caused the worst winter flooding in decades for river and stream valleys from Southwest Virginia all the way to New York. And then later that year, that same year, 1996, Maryland DNR finds the largest Young of the Year spawn of stripers ever as per their chart. That big spike you see, close to 60 in the fall of 1996, as opposed to just 4 where we are today. Cooler nights this week for sure, and with winds out of the northwest, you can expect some more chilly conditions. That's good, I think, for striper fishing today and into the weekend. And I guess we should pray for some January blizzards as well. Just no more nor'easters. I beg of you, dear weather gods, no more nor'easters. Offshore conditions from the Hudson to Baltimore this Saturday and Sunday, they look good as of the Wednesday forecast. Winds 5 to 10 knots, seas 3 to 4 feet. see if those yellowfin and swordfish are on the feed. Next week, I do hope to be in Dewey Beach, Delaware for that striped bass decision. I plan to end next week's video with an update, all the details from Striper Decision 2025. Catch 'em up, and I'll see you out there.